This is AutoSave, the book club for gamers, where we go through chapter by chapter in the games we love. This week we're continuing our journey in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, and we're going to learn more about Red XIII's hometown and why he's going through reverse puberty. Want to know what that's all about? Well, give the episode a listen. Welcome to AutoSave. I'm Camille Hadaway, and joining me, as always, it's the hostess with the mostest, Mr. Nick Andrade. How you doing, Nick?
Good. However, you're the hostess with the mostest this week.
Oh, yeah, I am, because I am leading this episode. And on this episode, Nick, guess what? We are going to be covering Chapter 10, Watcher of the Veil. But before we do, we have to look back on what happened last episode.
Look!
Those we hate, those we love, those we fear. Jenova would become anyone to fool her prey.
Don't do this!
But I'm no fool.
Zack's hometown. We got to meet his parents. We also learned about the weapon a little bit more, as Tifa had a too close for comfort encounter with the weapon and remembered some lost memories that she had with Cloud from her childhood. We also learned that there are the regular Whisperers that we remember from Remake and earlier in this game, but there's also the Black Whisperers that seem to be controlled by Sephiroth, or at least working with Sephiroth. And we met a new friend, Sid, who gave us a ride on his plane. I guess it's a plane. I was about to say, wait, is it a helicopter? No, it's a plane. To Cosmo Canyon to learn more about the planet in hopes of learning how the weapon plays into everything. Nick, that was a lot that we went through last episode, and it finally seems like we're getting some answers.
And thank you for reminding me why we were going to Cosmo Canyon, because I'm not paying attention too well on what the point of the journey is.
Yeah.
Other than following Black Cloaks, but we haven't seen any in a while.
No.
So they're getting answers about the planet. That makes more sense.
Yes, answers about the planet. But you're right. There's a lot of, distraction jutsu that's happening in this game, where we're just kind of set on these missions and we're kind of living the life of like, this game's pretty cool. And then we're like, oh, wait, what was the purpose of this game? So at least now we're finally getting some of those answers. And it's getting a little serious. There's some hard questions being asked, and even questions that we could take outside of the game and take into our own lives and consider. So we're going to get a little bit of a philosophical feel here on a question of the day with a would you rather question. Obviously the most philosophical questions of them all. In this game, we deal with different beings, whether they're humanoids or something like Red, where you could range from an average lifespan of I don't know, what's the average lifespan, 70 years old?
I think it's in Canada, I think it's 82 or 81.
Okay, we're gonna go with but we have great health. Well, we have healthcare.
Yeah, let's leave it at that.
I'm gonna minus the great, but we have healthcare here. So you know what? For our American buddies, this is you could fact check this, but we're going with 70 years as the average age for your life. But then you also have people who are above average in this world, in this game. They could live on for hundreds of years or maybe come back to life.
How old is Sephiroth?
I don't know. Well, I mean, he has to be just a little bit older than Cloud, right?
You would think, but I don't know. How long has he been around?
That's true.
Yeah.
The Genova thing, eh? Yeah.
Mhm.
Question. How old is Aerith? Oh, okay. Let's not get into that question of the day. That's for another day. But I would ask you, would you rather live in solitude for eternity? Because it seems like some of these older beings, they're kind of hidden. No one knows where they are.
Mhm.
But they're kind of invincible too. So they live for eternity. You could be invincible,
Yeah.
but you're in solitude.
Mhm.
Or would you rather live an average lifespan, but be in constant fear of the threats of the world? So in this situation, Shinra being the biggest threat, I think, for most of the people in this world, being out to maybe destroy your town or you. Would you rather?
I feel like both sound horrible. Like you're giving me a would you rather, but being
But that's the whole
immortal in
point.
solitude, like you remember that movie with Tom Hanks where he Castaway.
Castaway, yeah.
Like he's just alone
Wilson.
for like 30 days or something, or like 60 days or 90, maybe it's 2 years. I don't remember. But he goes crazy, and Wilson
Yeah.
is his best friend, which is a volleyball.
Yeah. The
If,
bestest of friends. Yeah.
if you're alone for eternity, you'd probably go crazy, I would assume.
I mean, I had invisible friends as a kid. I could just make them up, you know.
So
I
you
can revert back.
you either go crazy or you gain infinite knowledge. Those are the two options, and you become super wise.
Well, no, I think you go crazy no matter what.
Yes,
But you could choose to go crazy and it's not for a purpose, or you could choose to go crazy and maybe really think about the knowledge of the world and maybe gain some knowledge yourself, right? So I think there's always multiple paths in both of these decisions. But it is a hard one. That is the whole point of a would you rather question, Nicholas.
I think I would go with just the regular old life.
But you're in constant fear of Shinra.
Okay, but then you're also alone all the time forever.
Yeah, but how many times have people in this game seen their loved ones die because of Shinra?
Yeah, but you only have to experience that once. 'Cause then you'll die.
So you would experience that once and then move on really quickly. Is that what you're telling me?
Yeah. See, look, but whenever we talk about immortality,
Mhm.
especially in media, it's always bad because, the immortal person falls in love and then they fall in love with someone who only can live for so long, and then they have
Yeah.
heartbreak, and they constantly have heartbreak throughout their entire immortal life. So there's that one. But then if you're in solitude, you're literally just by yourself with nobody around. To me, I
That
think
is true.
that stinks. Unless, are you allowed to have a dog with you? Does
I
pets
mean,
count?
if a pet count, would that make a difference for you?
I think
pet
I
can't
think
talk.
so. Yeah. Yeah.
But they can't talk. So
Yeah, but they can. It doesn't matter about talking.
okay. All right. I see what you're saying. You know what? To play devil's advocate here, I think I would live in solitude. Just because you would be alone. Actually a huge introvert. I don't like interacting with others.
Okay.
So being alone isn't actually that bad. There's a lot to do, a lot of chores around my house that I would love to get done. If I was living in solitude, I could focus on that. I could
So you just
probably
clean your
even-
house for eternity.
Hey, I'm living the life. hey?
Sounds amazing.
I'm living the life. And you know what? What usually happens on the journey, if you're living in solitude, some adventurer usually finds you. And then you have a purpose for like a quick, maybe hour. And then you go back to your life in solitude. I'm good with that.
The adventure wouldn't be interesting if people weren't involved. And how would you go on an adventure if there was no one to tell you to do something?
Well, no, the adventurer would find you. Like, in a lot of video games, usually you find someone who's in solitude, and then you continue on your mission, leaving that person in solitude to their solitudeness. I
But-
would be that person in solitude.
No, because you can't interact. The question you asked, they would never beat anybody.
I know, that's true. Ah,
See?
man. Oh, no. Okay, I'm rethinking
I'm
this
just
now.
saying it'd probably be miserable. I'd rather live a life in fear of Shinra than just living and hearing trees move.
All right, on the record now, Nick is saying a life in solitude would be miserable. A life with Shinra in constant fear of potentially killing your family, which they would eventually do, as we've seen in this game. You just move on. Not miserable at all.
Well,
Nice to know, Nick. Nice to know.
I would just, I abide by Shinra's rules.
All right. Okay, there we go.
This will get me in trouble for that.
That's
answer.
the answer of the question of the day. Nick, if Shinra ever appears, he'd be a Shinra trooper in a heartbeat. In a heartbeat. Well, with that all said and done, after the break, we continue our journey in Final Fantasy VII Rebirth as we head into Red XIII's hometown, Cosmo Canyon, and maybe learn more about him than we would have initially thought. Stay tuned. So Sid bids farewell to the group because we start this episode, which is a really cool thing. You have you're in Sid's plane and you have the motion sensors of the PS5 controller. And
Yep.
the best part about this sequence is Yuffie is getting motion sickness. Like, you're hearing her barfing. You look so unimpressed by Yuffie.
Yeah,
right
she
now.
just. Why is she always car sick in any place that she goes? Come on.
Well,
Plane
you
sick,
know,
cart sick.
there's just some people that are just sensitive to motion.
All right, then, I guess you're not a good materia hunter then.
Ooh, some fighting words. Well, Sid lands the plane, thankfully safely, because I was like, wait, when they gave us the motion sensor, I was like, oh no, something's gonna happen here. But nothing happens. It's a safe ride. And Sid reveals that he has the most unmanageable business practice ever. He just tells the group who will pay for his services to give them a ride anywhere in the world, just to send up a signal, and then he'll give a lift. So does this mean Sid's constantly just looking up in the air like, hey, any new customers? Let me just look up and see if there's a smoke signal around.
Yeah, just imagine him sitting in a chair waiting for customers. I was just disappointed that he didn't join our team here because I think I learned, or there's a ability of jump, which is usually a spear attack, and that's what Sid has. So I'm like, hello, Sid, where are you coming from? Are you going to join our team? But he doesn't join our team, and I'm upset.
Nope, Sid is out of the party as usual. But we do continue to make our trip to Cosmo Canyon. And Red actually leads the way because this is his hometown. And he starts talking to us about the Watcher of the Veil, which is a very important position for the people in Cosmo Canyon. We also hear Kate Sith ask Cloud about why Sephiroth is doing what he's doing. Which makes me question what Shinra actually knows, because we know Kate Sith is linked to Shinra, and I'm still on the fence of whether I trust Kate completely.
But it's Reeve, right?
I understand it's Reeve, but it's I would think Reeve would know why Sephiroth is doing what he's doing, but then Reeve as Kate is why is Sephiroth doing what he's doing? Is this him trying to put on the whole I'm not Reeve?
No, I don't think Reeve knows. Just based on the interactions we have seen from him since Remake, when he was, with President Shinra, to me, I don't think he has all the answers. And I don't think they fully know what Sephiroth is, and unless it's maybe Rufus.
Okay, so you think it's the higher-ups are the
Yeah,
ones that are keeping that close to them. Okay,
Yes.
that makes sense. So Red XIII returns home, but there's something a little odd about Red's voice.
I was born and raised here, in this canyon. I was to become a Watcher of the Veil like those before me, until I was taken by Shinra. Now that I'm home and have repaid my debt to you, I plan to serve my village once more. I appreciate all that you've done for me. Thank you.
We're really gonna miss you, Red.
Oh, don't say that. You're only making this harder. I mean, I wish we had more time, but this is my duty.
I suppose it was your duty to act the old man.
I wanted you to treat me as an equal, not a dog.
Not a pig! Is that you, my boy?
Coming!
So, was that goodbye?
So Red, or Nanaki, is leaving the party, but before he does, he reveals that he is the Watcher of the Veil, which is an important position in Cosmo Canyon, as I mentioned before, and that he has to return to his duties protecting Cosmo Canyon. We then hear his voice change very drastically, like reverse puberty in a sense. I mean, it is.
Yep.
But he explains that he kind of put on this act of this wise old dog because he didn't want to be treated like a dog. And I'm like, I'm sorry, Red. Even if you have like an older voice or a younger voice, you still look like a dog.
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around what I remember from the original game because I clearly don't remember any of this.
Neither
Which
do
again,
I.
maybe if it had actual like voice acting in the game, I would have paid attention more. But I was probably just scrolling through and didn't really
You
pay
skipped over
attention.
this.
So I don't even remember. For me, I always thought Red was an experiment from Shinra that, you know, he used to be a human. But no, he's always been a dog. And he's also a teenager.
Yeah.
So this actually surprised me. And I thought it was a hilarious scene in general because of, you know, Barrett's basically me at this point, and he's just like, what's happening? But it does make sense. I will give him that. He wanted to be taken seriously, and I feel like if he was just an impressionable teenage dog, they would have looked at him differently.
With all the knowledge he does have, I guess because he is this Watcher of the Veil, or is supposed to be this Watcher of the Veil, they may not have taken his wisdom seriously. So, I'll give Red that. But now this kind of maybe answers the question, is this the voice Aerith was talking to in the room? Because remember, in the room, in earlier chapters, we saw Red XIII leave Aerith's room after Cloud heard that voice. So is this the voice? And it seems here like Aerith kind of is not surprised by this news and kind of gives him like the head shake, like, you go on and be yourself.
Yeah, that's disappointing. I didn't even think about that, but that's probably what it is. I was hoping it was something interdimensional with Zack, but this now makes the most sense. That it was Red the whole time. God damn it.
When did Red and like Aerith bond so much that like Red would actually, is it because they're both like kind of connected to the planet more than everyone else that they have this connection?
Yeah, and wasn't she trapped?
Yes, that is true.
She was trapped,
She's trapped
in
with him.
Hojo's lab in Remake with him, so that doesn't make sense.
And then that's probably why she knows actually how he actually talks.
Yes.
Interesting. I think we just broke that mystery right there.
That's sad.
Yeah, it's kind of disappointing as well. I was hoping for something a little more with that voice.
Yeah.
But we now have Red leaving the party because we hear that voice call him, and he, although he says he doesn't want to be treated like a dog, he acts like a dog right before. So I'm like, Red, what do you want? But
belly rub.
Exactly. We go around, you have some time to kind of explore, and you meet this voice that was calling Red XIII, and it's Bugenhagen. The names in this game, I'm like, where did you come up with this name? Okay, sure.
Yeah, it seems like every episode that you do, you have a new name that you have to pronounce.
It's like Bugenhagen, like that is such a weird, or is it Bugenhagen? Bugenhagen.
All right. Good.
So Bugenhagen, because apparently everyone has
name.
German names. Like, what is? Okay.
Bugenhagen. What does it even mean?
I don't know, man. And it's like so different because usually names are like similar, especially in the worlds here for Final Fantasy. I think would be similar for like everyone else. So like no one else has like a Hagen name in this area, but Bugenhagen, which is like Okay. But we meet Bugenhagen, and this is the voice that Red 13 actually ran to. And we learned that actually Red 13's name is Nanaki, which again, it's like, who are you? You've been in this party the whole time. Do I really know you? I have a lot of questions. But Bugenhagen is Red 13 or Nanaki's mentor. We also learn that Bugenhagen's kind of like this expert, is the expert actually that Red 13 was talking about, that knows everything about the planet. And we go into his workshop and you could interact with different artifacts and gadgets. And as you do that, we hear the planet cry out. Cloud, Tifa, and Aerith hear the planet cry out. And Bugenhagen like kind of has this weird interaction with Tifa, which is a little bit passive aggressive, as they have this conversation of like what that sound is. And Bugenhagen says, I think something along the line like, oh, it's just the planet. But Tifa saying, no, that's the sound of the weapon. And she explains her experience with falling into the Lifestream and interacting with the weapon. And this guy that we just met is all like, no, Tifa, what you're experiencing and what you think that experience is a result of Mako poisoning. How?
No.
How could you, just meeting someone for the first time, not even like out of politeness, be like, huh, interesting, and just keep it to yourself? He's just straight up like, no,
Pretty
that's
rude.
Mako poisoning. You're dumb, kind of thing.
What a rude asshole.
He's so rude. He's so rude.
Look at him
And
floating on his little giant earth thing, whatever that is.
is that an orb? Yeah, he floats on an orb.
Yeah.
How is he doing that? I don't know, but he is very he has a lot of drip. Like, I'm not gonna lie. His outfit's
just-
kind of cool.
It's a typical Final Fantasy character drip. Like,
Yeah.
it's just so out there and random. When I saw him for the first time, I'm just like, of course he's wearing this.
Of course. But that drip is matched with huge passive aggressiveness, in which after his discussion with Tifa, he then says, that kind of sounds like you don't really know much about the planet. So guess what? I'm going to enroll you in some Planet Lifestream 101 classes, and my assistants are going to take you away now. And that's what he does. He makes Aerith and Tifa attend this class to learn more about the planet. But they do that. Before they do that, they actually head into the planetarium.
Behold, the planet we call home. It was from its soil, so teeming with life, that mankind was born. And like all living things, man is fated to die. So, what happens next? The body withers and returns to the planet. But what of the mind, the spirit, the soul? Much like its former vessel, it too returns whence it came. To the great river where all intertwine and circle the planet without end. A cycle of continuous convergence and divergence. The ceaseless ebb and flow that is the life stream. An apt name, though it is as much a reservoir as it is a stream, being the sum of the planet's spiritual energy. It is the very essence of our star, the blood coursing through its planetary veins. And if ever that essence were to be entirely depleted,
So the party go into this planetarium, and we hear Bugenhagen pretty much explain that the Mako usage is depleting the planet's resources, and it's believed that the planet will die if all of the Mako is depleted, which also goes along with what Barrett believes and what he's fighting for as well. Like, with Shinra sucking up all the Mako, it's not good for the planet. But then during this again, Mr. Bugenhagen gives another little passive aggressive to Tifa, as Tifa really asks, is this theory actually correct? Is there a chance for the Mako to actually go back into the planet? And then this is where his assistants come in and they grab, well, they don't grab. He says, you know what, it's time for a little lesson because you're not educated to know about the planet. So let's go to this session, and Aerith and Tifa kind of go away. And it gives Cloud a chance to explore Cosmo Canyon. Once you do some exploring there, you actually go back to Bugenhagen's place, and there is a lesson that's taking place. I guess this is like part of the lesson that Tifa and Aerith was supposed to listen into. It's pretty much like a listening circle. Do you remember that, like from elementary school?
Listening circle?
Like you sit around as a class in a circle and then you listen to others. No one had a listening circle.
I don't think I had a listening circle. That's nice though. I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's all right. I mean, for a bunch of kids, no one was listening. Everyone was wanting to talk. But I think it was just a time for the teacher to be like, okay, be quiet, I have a headache kind of thing.
That makes sense.
Yeah. So obviously, if Bugenhagen has a headache and is just telling everyone to listen to each other because he doesn't want to teach. How do you feel about all this theory?
Do you think this is redundant?
Yes.
I feel like we've learned about Mako draining up the planet's resources since Remake. Mm-hmm. Did we need a whole nother lecture about this?
I mean, I think it is redundant, but what is interesting is that you're hearing Tifa actually question the theory.
Yeah.
Which we never really heard before because Barrett's very much like, this is what's happening.
Yeah.
Mako's being drained. And then Tifa's kind of in the background. So now we're kind of getting our eyes open to like, maybe Tifa is rethinking something she maybe previously thought.
Yeah.
And then we actually learn in this listening circle that like you're hearing other people talk as you approach to go into a cutscene. But one of the people actually say that they've heard theories that argue that the spiritual energy is actually a manifestation of knowledge and memories. So even though their parent or parents have passed away, they believe their parents are still around because they carry on, the Lifestream carries on the knowledge and memories that other people can experience, which kind of aligns with, I guess, Tifa's experience in the weapon and how she saw these memories. Maybe they were her own, maybe because I always had the question with like, how is she able to see a memory which she wasn't present for?
Yeah.
Because it's technically like, how can she see Cloud was watching her? Wouldn't that be Cloud's memory? So was the Lifestream or the weapon showing her like another perspective from that moment in her childhood?
Yeah. Again, I'm not gonna fully understand what she was going through there, but I assume that there's just like an outer body experience in that situation that she's seeing through the materia inside the weapon.
Okay. Well, speaking of Tifa's experience in the weapon, she talks a little bit more about it.
What about you, miss? You must have a story to share. Please.
Me? Okay. Where to begin? I fell into the Lifestream. I don't have words to describe it, except beautiful, maybe? It was a lot to take in. Feelings of kindness washed over me. Long-forgotten memories came flooding back. It was a warm, comforting place. But there was also conflict. A war between the planet and its enemies. And we can't let them win. We need the planet, and it needs us. We have to rise up, fight back, defend it from this terrible threat. Thing is, I don't know how to do any of that. And I hoped you might have the answer. I'm not criticizing planetology or anything, and I'm not trying to scare anybody either. I just... You know... Never mind. This is all coming out wrong.
So we hear more of the uncertainty with Tifa as well as the clapping hands of the listening circle. Although the guy leading the listening circle was a bit aggressive, a little passive aggressive as well, because after she like spills her heart and like obviously very uncomfortable doing it, he's like, good for you, next time you could try again. What ale?
It's complicated though, right? I think that cutscene showing the complexity of not our world. I don't want to get too deep into this, but she saw something that no one else has ever seen, so she doesn't really know how to explain it without sounding crazy. And although she, I guess, respects everyone else's opinion, she's trying to like make her own point, but then feels stupid about it, which I think we've all been in that situation, right?
Yeah.
And she's overthinking it, and I feel bad for her, but that's why I enjoyed the applause at the end, because right or wrong, whatever the answer was, if she couldn't figure out what she was saying properly, it didn't really matter. She's just trying to come up with her own point of view, which I think sometimes we need. That not everyone thinks the same.
And I mean, if you're constantly being fed these theories by whether it's Shinra, Avalanche, or groups like, this in Cosmo Canyon, it could be very scary to come up against that. And I think here we're getting another confirmation that maybe her opinions are changing about what she believed before because of that experience of the weapon. And I do like how they're making this because I think sometimes, especially in Final Fantasy, they tend to you have a moment like this and then it just moves on. But this is actually sitting with Tifa. This is actually maybe a life-changing experience, what happened with her in the weapon.
Yeah.
A life-changing experience. So I'm really actually excited that we're getting to see how it's affecting her and how that may affect her character's journey. Now, as we finish this listening circle with a bunch of hand claps and finger snaps, we head to the River of Lights, which is like a ceremony that they're doing afterwards here with Cosmo Canyon. And this is an opportunity where you could talk to different party members before they release the lights by the river, which is releasing lanterns. That again, all of this does seem very spiritual, which... I think Red kind of gave that vibe, but now we're seeing where it's rooted in, which is cool as well.
It was also really beautiful.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Yeah. It kind of reminded me of Final Fantasy X, oh my god, my words are escaping me. When Yuna is in with dude's name, what's his name again? Titus or Titus or whatever you want to pronounce it, and they're in the lake and that beautiful scene.
Yes,
it kind of reminds me of that. So this was actually a very beautiful, touching scene. But you do have an opportunity to talk to different people, maybe deepen your relationships with people in your party.
Make sure
when you got to make sure to do it.
Except for Yuffie.
It's not appropriate. It's not appropriate with Yuffie.
No, not just that. Her aunt, she's just this is boring. And I was just shut up. This is not boring.
Yeah. Well, let's go through everyone. So you have Red, right?
Yeah.
And when you approach Red, we hear about his parents, and you hear how he talks about each of his parents. And there's definitely a difference between how he talks about his mom and his dad. There's animosity towards his dad, and he really loves his mom.
Yes.
And you have an option to kind of ask him to talk about it more, which that's the option to deepen the relationship. And he kind of shrugs you off and he's I'm not ready to yet. Right. So there's something going on with Red. I don't know what it is.
Yep.
And his dad, Barrett, reminisces about talking to a mentor and wondering now if fighting is the answer, which is very different for Barrett, because Barrett's always about you got to fight them. We got to take them out.
Yeah.
But now he's wondering if fighting's the answer, kind of having a change of heart, maybe similar to Tifa.
I think he's had a pretty expansive character development in this game so far. I'm thinking, yeah, he's really starting to question a lot of the things he's done up until this point. So I can kind of understand this aspect.
Yuffie, your favorite one, of course, is like, she's like, all of this is bogus. These theories and returning to the planet. She wants proof. And like you could say like, okay, cool. I think I said like, okay, cool, whatever.
Sounds like a very realistic real life thing right now.
Yeah.
Send me proof. I don't believe it.
This is fake news.
Yeah.
Yuffie's one of those people. Just worried about the materia, nothing else.
Yep.
Kate was actually an interesting one for me, Kate Sith, because I thought you'd be able to deepen your relationship with Kate Sith because Kate's in your party. You cannot deepen your relationship.
I don't think ever. I don't think ever you've been able to once.
Because Kate's not Kate. Kate is Reeves. So like I just was like, I know who you are. You think you're being sly, but you're not. Tifa, you could go up to, and she's concerned about how she sounded in the listening circle, as I like to call it, or that discussion earlier.
Yep.
I just want to say, Chris, who does the gameplay that you're seeing here, if you're watching online or hearing the clips, chose wrong.
Come on, man.
Absolutely wrong. He's chose like you could laugh it off.
No.
Wrong answer.
She's looking for like
comfort.
Yeah, comfort, and like she did the right thing. Come on.
Exactly.
Man.
You have to tell her she did good. That is the correct answer, and that is the only answer you select.
Yep.
Please, I hope no one else made that mistake, because as I watched Chris do that, I was like, no. And even Tifa's response is like, well, that's easier said than done.
She was mad.
So
she was mad.
Wrong. And then we go into Aerith, who lights the fire, and we hear her speak. Which is very interesting. She lights the first, like the fire for the pyres to like light the lanterns, and everyone turns to her. Who gave her this job to be the head of lighting the fire? I don't know.
No, I think I understand why, right? Because she's an ancient, and I think.
But no one knew she was.
I think she has some sort of aura there. I think
Okay.
everyone was like all eyes on her. I understood it as that. Like,
Okay,
she's some
that's
sort
fair.
of like being that people are drawn to.
Okay.
And maybe again, she hasn't said that she's an ancient, but I just felt like that made sense to me when I saw it.
Okay, that's fair. So because of her ancientness, people are drawn to her. They turn to her, and she gives a speech exposing herself as an ancient to all of these people while they're still on the run from Shinra and trying to figure out the mysteries of the weapon and what Sephiroth's up to.
They're not on the run. We
Are
forgot. We didn't
they?
talk about
I don't
this.
know.
At the beginning of this chapter, right? They showed the wanted poster, and they
Yes,
found
we
out
didn't
that
talk about that,
it's not them anymore.
So at the end of last episode, we saw Reeve changing the posters with the faces, and now they know that they are not wanted because they saw the results of Reeve's changes, which is pretty funny. Yeah. And then you also in that moment saw Kate was like, "Ha!" Kind of like. Yeah. I did that, very proud moment. So yeah, I guess they're not wanted, but it's still very weird to do when you have this mission and you don't really want to draw attention from people. And in the moment in her speech, she talks about how she is the only ancient, and it's very lonely and a very, very dark experience. It's painful, and she's been through a lot of pain, but she met other people that brings her joy that almost makes it worth it for her to have gone through that pain. And through this, she looks at Cloud through the crowd, and you have an option to reassure her. So you could say stop her, encourage her, and then smile at her. Which one did you choose?
I comforted her. I made her feel good.
You could smile.
I reassured her. I knew that smile was the second answer.
Yeah.
And then the third one, what was the third one again?
It was I forgot what the reassuring. It was just nod your head or reassure, or something like that. Yeah. So you could choose to smile. It's horrible smile. I didn't. Again,
you
Chris
just smiled?
did. No, I did not.
Oh, okay.
But Chris did. And it is the ugliest smile ever. He's Cloud is hurting trying to make himself smile. It's hilarious, but yeah.
I could have done the second one because I want to make sure that Tifa is like with Cloud.
Yeah.
However, in that moment, I think almost I think I did everything the way I would have done it in real life. You know, especially with that whole moment, I think I would have reassured Aerith in that moment, regardless of how I felt. And the same thing with Yuffie. Like, I would have told her off because I don't like what she was saying. And then again with Barrett, he was opening up. I wanted to open up more. When Red wants to talk about his dad, like, I want to be more interested in that. So, especially with Tifa, like, everyone has gone through a moment where they are feeling uncomfortable with what they're saying, and maybe it didn't come out right. So you want to reassure her too. So it's like, I think going through those answers, I did everything that Nicholas would do.
Yeah, I think I did everything that Camille would do, which is aligned with what Nicholas would do, and that's what's important here.
That's why we do a show together.
That's why we do a show together. All right, so as you do this, then we see everyone release the lanterns. Really beautiful cutscene here, and then Buchenhagen actually tells Red that he wants to take him in the party somewhere, and we follow him along to a place that there's a trial that Red XIII has to do to become the Watcher of the Veil. So it's kind of interesting because it sounded like Red was the Watcher of the Veil from the start, how he explained it, but now it seems like he's not quite yet. So maybe this is something that's inherited down.
Yeah.
So I feel like we're diving into learning about his parents, which we do shortly after this. We hear Buchenhagen and Red XIII talk about his parents. And we learn that Red's parents were Watchers themselves, and his mother saved the village when they were under attack. She fought, whereas his father was a coward and ran from the village and abandoned him and the village.
Wow.
For his own safety, which is like, complicated.
Don't want to get involved.
Don't want to. I know. If I was there, I would be like, ooh, so about these lights in this cave, huh? You know, change topic right away. So Red has to take this trial, which we learn he could only take one other person with him. Cloud offers, but Buchenhagen's like, then there would be no point of a trial. And points to Barrett. It is like, you'll be the person that goes with him. Is Barrett chopped liver? How does that make sense? What is he trying to say about Barrett's capabilities?
No, I don't think he's saying it as a challenge. I think he gets the least along with Barrett, right? They've clashed the heads the most. So I have a feeling that he picked Barrett so that there could also be some sort of relationship building with the two, where if he went with Cloud, like he normally does, nothing would have been accomplished. So I think this was a test for Nanaki.
Okay, I did not get that. I thought he was just saying like Cloud could actually destroy this test. So okay, I feel a little bit better with that now. So you continue as Barrett. You actually continue as Red, and Barrett's in your party. And you have to continue through this cave in order to face off these bad guys. You learn how to climb walls. And then you learn about a group called the Gi, which is a small tribe that not a lot of people know about. And you have to battle through this cave to retrieve an ancient artifact of the Gis in order to complete this trial. I'm just like, is Buchenhagen trying to get us to like get him some goods that he could sell for high prices to bring money to the village? I know, I was very questionable about this. I'm just like, why would you just throw Red? He just came back. He's now a kid. I'm very protective of Red right now.
You don't trust Buchenhagen at all? He seems, from the beginning, he seemed very trustworthy.
I mean, he's trustworthy, but is he? I don't know. Buchenhagen encourages Red to learn more about himself as they come across a Gi statue. And we have to get these artifacts in order to unlock these statues and then fight different Gi Lancers. So there's multiple statues here, and it's pretty much it's a game of fetch. That's what it is. It's a game of fetch, which is very cute, by the way, because you see Red like grabbing these little artifacts and then placing them, and he's using his mouth. It's so cute. I loved it. And also it's like making me want to treat him like a dog even more. So
Wow.
not helping his case.
All right.
Once you get through the cave, you come across learning a few things. So you learn that the veil coincides with the Gee's history. And we learn that the Watcher actually, there's one Watcher that Red 13 doesn't know about that single-handedly saved the canyon from the Gee. So this place in this cave where they're fighting is actually a battleground where the Gee actually fought off a lot of people from the village. And this one Watcher saved the canyon from the Gee. But then also, Bugenhagen also says some things that make me like question if the Gee are actually evil. Because first he paints them in that light, but then he says, well, the Sentra also used to communicate with the Gee. There's a room that you come across, and that's the room that the Sentra would communicate with the Gee, even though the Gee, in Red's terms, were the enemy. So it seems like there's a lot that Bugenhagen knows, and Red doesn't, even though Red is still wise for his age.
I think you just explaining it to me, like, it's just giving me a headache.
Yeah, it's so weird.
This whole part with the Gee and the Watcher and the Cetra, and I don't really understand. It's not compelling me enough right now. I'm just going through the motions as I do this mission, but I feel like it's complicating a lot of this whole story.
It is. It's very complex, but you know what? You do understand boss battles, and that's what we have. We get a boss battle with Gee Nadik, who is one of the spirits, I guess, that we unlock from the statues. I mean, he's ferocious, and he has like this thing where he sends a lot of skull minions at you, but if you're persistent, you'll be able to defeat him, no problem.
Does this one set you to stone if you're not careful?
Like petrify you?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, that's really annoying.
Yeah. But then after that, you head to Bugenhagen to get the final verdict for the trial.
But why? Why did she never tell me the truth?
Because she knew that if she did, you would attempt to seek your father out all by yourself. Your parents strove to keep our Vale safe. But there is one thing they fought even harder to protect. You, Nanaki, their son.
She was afraid because I was too small and weak.
Back then, perhaps, but not anymore. Heavens no. You've become a fine warrior in your own right. And that is precisely why I brought you here. But this is not where your journey is meant to end, my dear boy. You must leave the Vale once more.
But I'm a Watcher now. I gotta protect our home like he did.
Listen to me, Nanaki. When I first heard your friend's emphatic warnings, I dismissed them outright. No more than the ravings of misguided youths. When you've lived as long as I have, you start to believe you've seen it all, that no surprises remain. But I realize now how very foolish I have been. The eyes that I thought saw the world clearly have grown blind to new possibilities.
But
I would hate to impede your progress any further.
All right, so we learn that Red 13's father was the Watcher of the Veil, that sacrificed himself to save the canyon. I was crying. I was like really touched by this. It was actually very cute. I know you were like unimpressed with the Gee storyline, but I was like, it's actually really, you hear like Red 13 howl at the end, and I was like, this is so heartbreaking. And then you see the tear of his petrified father come from this.
So,
oh my gosh.
His dad is still alive in there?
I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, I guess like petrification, like when you think of like that attack, if you're hit with it, you turn to stone and you can heal it. So like maybe there is hope. Maybe there's still hope for his father.
That was emotional though. Very emotional.
Well, the emotions are cut short because we find out that Red 13 has failed the test, even though he physically passed it, but because Bugenhagen wants him to go out and see the world and seek the knowledge and truths of the world and not be clouded by limited experiences, he fails Red 13.
I think he passed the test. I think he did. But
he passed the test, but he failed.
But Bugenhagen failed him on purpose because he wants him to go explore with with Cloud's team.
Exactly. And he promises that he'll return. Red 13 promises that he'll return soon after their journey. And then the conversation's cut short because Guy Natak, I think his name is. Not Natak. Yeah, Natak, I think is how he pronounced it, appears. And this is the boss that we battled. Mm-hmm. But he's here, so I'm confused.
Well, he's a spirit, so I'm sure that's why he wasn't truly defeated.
I didn't know it was his spirit at this point.
Oh, okay.
Because I was like, wait, are they still alive then? So he appears and he asks the group to follow him, specifically Red 13 and Aerith, who he refers to as the Sintra. So something magical is going to happen. Again, are the Gi alive? What is happening here? And in this moment, Cloud sees Sephiroth when he looks at Gi Natak. So is this actually Gi? Is this Sephiroth? Lots of questions. But they take the boat ride to the home of the Gi, which kind of gives like a River of the Styx or like a River of Hades vibe. It does. And then it does, right?
Yeah.
Aerith puts her hand in there. I'm like, I don't know if I would be putting my hand in that
blood.
water. Yeah, it's kind of gruesome. And then when we arrive on the shore, there is something that happens that we'll get to in segment 3. But we do hear Gi Natak talk more about the Sintra's past. And again, the Sintras are really painted in this light as being very good. But Gi Natak says that they're listening. The planet's listening. And when the planet listens, the Sintra could hear. And they're not tolerant of the Gi. And Aerith is kind of like questioning, wait, does that mean she's not tolerant? So there's a lot of things happening here that is confusing, but I feel like mean more, which we'll get to as well. When you enter the Gi village, you kind of go around and all that Gi Natak is asking us to do is listen, lend the ears of his people's or lend his people their the party's ears. So he just wants the party to listen to what the spirits have to say. But then also the Gis keep attacking us. So I'm like, why are they attacking us if they want us to hear them out? This doesn't make sense.
It's like a trial?
I don't know. I guess it's a trial maybe it's a trial. But again, we learn more things about the Gis. So we learn that their Gi are not dead. And they are not from the Lifestream as well. So if they were dead, they would actually go back to the Lifestream. So they're actually living in limbo in a sense because they are unable to rest, even though they are dead. If that makes sense. Did I explain that right? I hope I did.
You did. I think, they're in a state of not death, but not being alive either.
Mm-hmm. Which Yuffie's like, hell yeah, you could be invincible. But then again,
they're miserable.
You're miserable because you're living in this kind of a little bit of solitude with your people. And Kate actually points out that the souls are not fully at rest. So is that any way to live at all? Right? Again, right. Very philosophical.
Now it goes back to the question of the day. Now I understand it. Why you asked
now
that
you
question.
Understand it. There you go. I didn't get dark for nothing.
But the Gi have people to talk to. The other Gi. Right?
I know, but I mean, you're not able to, bring life. You're not able to rest. Can they have, are there younglings for the Gi?
No.
I don't even know, right?
If you're that creepy, I don't feel like we can trust these guys.
Really? Because I felt like I could trust them.
Well, the team is even saying, don't trust these guys. Everyone in the party is saying that.
You know what Bugenhagen said? Bugenhagen doesn't seem like he doesn't trust them. He says always question.
You don't trust Bugenhagen, but you trust these guys?
But now you're saying you trust Bugenhagen, but
I said
don't trust his words?
Yes.
You don't trust his words? And his words are that maybe you should? Like, see, there's a lot of questions, but I don't think they're. I think there is a lot. I don't think they're lying to us in any sense.
I think they are.
So I think they're. You think they are?
Yes, they want that black materia.
Well, let's talk about the black
Okay.
materia because there is something that Cloud sees. Cloud sees a vision of Sephiroth. Again, he sees this in the Gi, so maybe they are evil. But again, Big Nugget says it's not that simple. So let's hear what the Gi's goals are.
From the planet, we claim the greatest of materia, a most sacred treasure, and imbued it with our desire for freedom. After an eternity, the materia began to stir, and thus did we rejoice, knowing that salvation was within our grasp. We rejoiced, so convinced were we that our prayers for release had not been in vain. Yet the loathsome Cetra trespassed upon our lands and stole the treasure that would grant us deliverance. Therefore, we ask that you retrieve it, the black materia, key to our oblivion. Please, it alone can liberate us from this endless dream. The Gi cannot rest until our sacred treasure has been restored to us.
So they're looking for the sacred treasure, which they are talking about the black materia. And my thing is, like, they may look creepy, but I think there's more than meets the eyes. I do think they don't have a bad MO. They just finally want to rest. We hear Ginatak say that he kind of wants to put the ancient grudge between the Gi and the Centra at rest. And maybe the Gi were evil before, but is that the same now? Right? I don't know.
Is again though, the only thing I go back to is Red's dad and getting petrified. It was the fight against the Gi. So how can we then just trust the Gi that all they want to rest is if they get this black materia? To me, it just seems like they need it for something bad.
Well, I feel like it's kind of like that whole idea of, like, unfortunately, there will always be battles against two people who have differing opinions, or two groups that have differing opinions, and that seems like it comes from the Gi and the Centra, and like those groups may have support on either side. And I feel like if they were, from what Ginatak is saying, is like they were banished here. So like if you think of like what reform is supposed to be, like maybe they've gone through like a version of reform and they're like, you know, like maybe their past ways have like kind of led them to this, and they just want to rest and kind of put everything to rest.
Yeah, that can happen, I think.
Yeah, we'll see. I don't know. There's a lot of things that I'm just like questioning everyone and everything. I don't trust anyone right now. But they also have this, the Ginatak also has this moment with Kate Sith, which I really loved, where he calls him the Hollow One and is suspicious of him. And you hear Cloud say you could trust him.
Yeah.
So I think the group has actually believed now that they could trust Kate Sith, and you're obviously trusting him. I think I'm trusting him too, even though we know it's Reeve. And then we end up hearing Gi say that they've been discovered. Which, I mean, did the planet, I guess the planet heard them talk too much and now has like vanished everyone back to where they started the cave without Ginatak. So that was it. And the final words from Ginatak was like, help us get that black materia.
Pretty interesting that he trusts us for this just after a few, conversations.
Well, I mean, people that are in desperation maybe are there to trust easily, trust others more easily.
He'll probably kill us if we don't help him.
Maybe, probably. He's pretty scary. So we head back and we have another cute moment where Red says that he's going to make his father proud and that he'll be back. And the group decide to go and find out where this black materia would be that the Sentra apparently stole from the Gi. This is what Ginatuk said. And Cloud says that black materia is going to be something that Sephiroth is up to too, and now reveals to the crew that he saw Sephiroth there, or at least felt his presence. And now we're like, okay, maybe you're right, Nick. Maybe the Gi and Sephiroth are working together here. Who knows?
No. You're not going to get off this easy. All right, you trusted these guys. You're in love with Sephiroth. Okay, I see you're on the dark side here, okay? I trust Bugenhagen. He's a nice old fella. Hasn't done anything for you not to trust him. And you're going after these deep, dark, secret beings. No thank you.
I'm just saying, if you trust Bugenhagen, you should trust his words that it's not that simple, not to trust.
For sure. But it looks like this black materia is not good in anyone's hands.
Yeah, and the group do decide, or they decide to pretty much go after this black materia because they can't have it fall into the wrong hands, which that just, I feel like, is going to be a foreshadowing that it is going to fall into the wrong hands. We then go back to Bugenhagen, who we try to get knowledge of where this place could be, somewhere that the Sentra prayed, a temple perhaps. But he reveals there's no temple because the Sentra actually never prayed. Like, they didn't believe in praying to any gods or like any temple per se. So it would instead be a more important site. And he does kind of, it seems like Aerith may know where it is too. Like, I wonder if Aerith knows where it is. I think she may. You think so?
No, I don't think she knows. But they have an inkling.
Yeah. Well, what we do know though is, with the Sentra not praying to any gods or not having like a temple to pray, Aerith didn't know about that, right? Because she's like, oh, really? And I think it's just, again, showing her disconnection because she grew up alone as the only like lineage from the Sentra. She doesn't know about like her people, right?
Yeah.
Which is actually pretty sad. This conversation is cut short because a messenger interrupts the group and says to Bugenhagen that a black cloak has appeared. So the group decides to go and check out who this black cloak is. And it's some guy that is at the gates and he's about to collapse. We hear someone say it's not Mako poisoning because we already know that, right? We heard from the doctor that, I forgot his name, but the doctor that helped Tifa those years ago say this is something else. And this, guess what this person says? Or guess how this person says what they say.
Black cloak. Reunion.
I mean, that was definitely, you think that would be the top answer, but actually the top answer is Nibelheim, which is weird because it's like they learned more words. Okay, Black Cloaks, we see you. So it all seems like everything is pointing back to Tifa and Cloud's hometown. And Kate actually says that there is a terminal for Shinra that is back in Nibelheim, and they could use that to find out where this important place that the Sentra would have been hiding this black materia be. So this is his chance to now prove to the party that he can be trusted. But they need help because Nibelheim is pretty far. So they put up a smoke signal and pay Sid 300 gil? Just 300 gil for a plane ride?
It's a steal. I'll take that anyway.
How is Sid making money?
He's not. He's just having fun. He's just having his old southern accent.
Next thing you know, Sid's like actually very wealthy and he doesn't need to work. This is just his hobby.
That would make sense. And in some games, he's been pretty wealthy, so I imagine.
I think it makes sense. But that is where the chapter ends. We're heading to Nibelheim. But after the break, we're going to just talk about a moment that happened in this chapter that has to do with Zack's purpose.
Biggs!
It's up to us to find our own purpose. I mean, who says it's gotta be one way? Everyone's sitting back, acting like the world's doomed, but the future's not set in stone. We're not powerless. So long as we don't lose sight of what's important. You know, what matters most of all when the going gets tough. I don't know, hopes, dreams, maybe? Something like that. So long as we've got those. And hold on tight and never let go.
Like this?
Like your life depends on it.
The world's lucky to have you. It's a start.
Anyway, I gotta run. I'll be sure to pay a visit to Cloud when I get the chance.
See ya. Think about what I said. Guess I should probably head home too.
All right, so there we get these flashbacks or these flash forwards or these flash present time things that are happening in another dimension. We go back to Zack, and this happens actually while we're traveling to the Geese homeland. So we're in that River of Hades bit while Aerith is putting her hands in the nasty water. And it cuts back to this moment where we hear Biggs and Zack kind of discussing a lot. So before this moment, they're talking about their near-death experiences. And this is what we already know from previous and remake. So what Biggs experienced in remake, how he remembers the moment he was about to die and he thought that was it. And then he doesn't remember how he found his way all bandaged back and healthy back to the orphanage. Actually, no one remembers how he arrives there. Zack says it's kind of a similar story with him as well, as he remembers being in the desert carrying Cloud and putting Cloud down to face off against Shinra. And they unload a bunch of ammunition on him and he could feel the gunshots. But as that one bullet was going to his face, the wind just shifted. And we see whispers kind of blow through there, but Zack doesn't see them. Mm-hmm. And things kind of got moved around, and then he woke up and he was back there. What is happening? So now this kind of seems like, because Biggs also says, like, why did fate pick him?
Yeah.
And we know that the Whispers are the arbiters of fate. So why did fate decide to change these moments?
I mean, I don't think we can answer that, but it's the biggest amount of information we've gotten from these cutscenes so far is both of these characters were inches from death. How we know they died. We know Biggs died in remake the way he died, but in this alternate reality, he's alive. And he remembers up to that point and then remembers him being back in Sector 7. And then we have Zack, who we know the situation that he dies in the original game. He gets taken out by those soldiers, but it doesn't happen here. So I'm trying to figure out why they're telling us this. Mm-hmm. Again, I feel like it's more than just a different dimension.
Yeah, right?
It's almost like it's the same reality playing out a different way.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like there's so many things that happen in this cutscene between the two of them, which make me question, wait, are they actually, like, I know they're not in the world that we know it because some of the posters are different.
Yeah.
For like the recruitment, I forgot the dog's name, that mascot, but it seems like it may be the same. Just because we hear Biggs and Zack talk, and Biggs asks Zack about Cloud. So we know Biggs in this timeline knows Cloud, mm-hmm. right? Or in whatever this is, this bubble reality, knows Cloud. And when Zack says it's Mako poisoning that Cloud is suffering from, because we know Cloud in this bubble reality is unconscious. Mm-hmm. And then it kind of cues Zack to ask more about Biggs and his relationship with Cloud. Because Biggs says that everyone knows Cloud and everyone knows how badass Cloud is because he's going to brush off this Mako poisoning and act like it's nothing. And, you know, that's just what Cloud does. And Zack is kind of like, wait, are we talking about Cloud, the same person?
Yeah.
Right, questioning Cloud's character. And then Zack goes on to ask, okay, how long have you known Cloud? And we hear Biggs explain the story, which we've experienced in Remake, how they met right before the reactor, and he was the other merc for hire. and that his group hired Cloud and saw how badass he is. And that kind of like Zack's response to that was like very questionable. He's kind of like, huh. So I think Zack, along with us, is trying to figure this out. And it seems like it kind of seems like they were pulled from these places that we remembered them in that timeline and thrown there with their memories, but they're in a different timeline.
Yeah.
Because how could if the reactor blew, right? How can Cloud be with Biggs, but then Cloud also be with Zack?
Yeah, it doesn't add up, right? It just seems like Zack is just being plopped in there into that reality, and Biggs is also from a different reality.
Right.
But again, it keeps panning to that crack almost in the air, or sorry, in the sky, where it looks like it's being ripped apart almost. So what does that mean?
Like, is this a place that maybe the Whispers just drop people?
Is this limbo?
Is this limbo?
Is the Gi coming?
Well, that's the thing. It's kind of like what the Gi are talking about as well. Like, they were kind of put here as like in their like little place of solitude by the Sentra, banished there. Mm-hmm. Is this like or is it like similar? The Whispers kind of put people in this place that they say it's not their time, and because that's not how fate is supposed to be, they're kind of put in this limbo.
Can't even answer.
Right? It's so weird. Well, more things happen just to make it more complicated.
Wonderful.
Biggs and Zack decide to continue through because Biggs wants to show Zack something. And as you're walking through the sector, you actually you go through like in Remake where the orphanage is. And you hear the orphans say, "Oh, you're the guy that Aerith was with, right?"
Right.
They're referring to Cloud, right?
But yeah, that's the thing. Zack doesn't feel like he belongs here.
Yeah. And neither does Biggs, though, because he questions again, what is his purpose?
Right.
And it seems like that's a common question for a lot of people here.
Are they all plucked from different realities?
I don't know. What I do know is Biggs and Zack finds an Avalanche poster. And in this Avalanche poster, Avalanche is recruiting people and telling everyone who wants to come and fight against Shinra to meet in a particular place. So they decide that, like, obviously this is a good opportunity for Shinra to round up people. So Zack and Biggs decides, okay, well, Biggs actually more than Zack decides, look, we need more people to help us with our purpose to fight against Shinra. Let's just go here and grab them before Shinra does and like see if they'll fight alongside us. When they go, no one is there except Kairi. Which, what is Kairi doing there? Because we know Kairi exists in our time, our reality, the main story. So how is there a Kairi here? And for some reason, they also pan on her backpack because she meets there and then she kind of brushes it off and jokes about how she just wanted to see who was stupid enough to show up in this meeting place. And then she walks off, but they pan on her backpack.
I didn't notice that.
Yeah. Is that the same backpack she was carrying in the main timeline?
I don't think she has a backpack in the main timeline. Does she?
I don't know. I know this game is trying to tell us something, but I don't know what.
I think it's leaving clues. It's sprinkling. I think when we talked to Simon too, I think he picked up a lot more on the clues playing it a second time. I think that's what we probably have to do. Play it a second time to realize these clues. But I really think the game's trying to tell us something that we're not quite grasping on our first playthrough. Because again, I didn't even realize that Kate Sith was, again, Reeve. So here we are.
Here we are. After that, you heard the clip about them talking about their purpose. And then Zack heads back to talk to Marlene. Because remember, Marlene last time wanted Zack to find Biggs because he knew Biggs was there. And this guy's like, yeah, I found Biggs. And he's doing great. But this guy doesn't care to ask like Biggs about maybe Barrett, maybe Tifa. And that makes Marlene mad because obviously she's concerned about Barrett and wants to know where Barrett is.
Do Did you also notice that Aerith's house, there's no flowers, everything's dead, and pretty grotesque.
It's very, very, very sad compared to the Aerith's house, how we know it. But a weird thing as well is Aerith's mom says to Marlene, don't worry, we're all going to the same place soon. You'll see your father soon. What the WTF moment is that? Like, that sounds like something in a scary movie, like a ghost talking through someone.
Marley.
Are they dead? Is Marlene dead?
Maybe everything is coming through Marlene's memory.
As an ancient? Is this like a pocket reality?
Is she an ancient?
Well, I mean, remember they kind of hinted that there may be more to Marlene?
That would be sick.
In Remake, because like how she knew more than she knew a lot about Aerith. So I don't know. But it ends with pretty much Aerith's mom telling Zack to go check on Aerith. And from there, we see he touches Aerith's hand, and then it goes back to the Hades River where the party's going to the Gi home world, and where Aerith's hand is in that pool of water that looks disgusting, and she feels Zack touch her hand and freaks out. So what the actual, I don't know.
We are moving towards more questions than answers once again.
Well, I thought we were getting some answers, and then I'm like, wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
Is this because, like, thinking of the River of Hades, right? And, like, the river is a place where all the souls live.
Yeah.
And that's where Aerith, like, if I'm taking that analogy of, like, this is what going to the Gi home world reminds me of, and you see Aerith kind of put her hand in there, I would say she's maybe touching the dead.
No, I don't think she's touching the dead. It just seems that she's always, like, every scene where it's gone from Zack to her, she's sensing Zack. I don't know if it's, I don't know. I don't know if he's dead. But it would make sense. Yeah, it would make sense if he was dead. Because it would make sense if he's in some sort of limbo. That would honestly make the most sense.
And I mean, it would make sense as well if, like, the orphanage people are there. They were all at this, like, they were all there when the plate collapsed. Marlene too.
Like, I'm just trying to go back to Remake when we saw Zack at the end of the game. He's looking for Aerith but doesn't find her. I don't know. I don't know. I wish I knew. I wish I was smarter. I wish I could predict this, which is good though, because a lot of times I predict things that happen in movies. I have no idea what the hell is happening in this game.
Well, unlike, the history of the Gi that may have got you a little bit tired and bored, this mystery of Zack and Biggs and what is actually happening here, we're getting a little bit more answers, but definitely a lot more questions. As for what's next, they say you can't go home again, especially after, well, it's been burnt down to the ground. But maybe that's not the case for Cloud and Tifa.
Cloud, look at this. It's brand new. They rebuilt the whole village.
Don't scare me like that. Thought Cloud might have lost it again. I mean, I thought he got us lost, because it looks different. So, who do you think rebuilt it?
Shinra.
Never mind all that. We've got a terminal to find.
Next time on AutoSave, we return to Niflheim. AutoSave is produced and hosted by Nick Andrade and myself, Camille Salazar-Hadaway. The show is also produced by Dylan Wilson. Gameplay and additional elements provided by Chris Zeiser. Technical production by Greg Fillion. Executive producer Clayton Hansler. You can follow the show at AutoSave Podcast on Twitter and AutoSave Pod on Instagram, YouTube, and Twitch. You can subscribe to the show wherever you're listening to it right now. And if it happens to be Apple Podcasts, kindly leave us a rating and a review, but only if it's good. AutoSave is a Soda original hosted on the Soda Podcast Network.